Yo, it's BDL44 right here. So I was in the middle of watching my previous video and realized there was another thing that I wanted to kind of touch up on, another rumor that's going around. And with most trade rumors, it probably holds very little validity. You don't really trust rumors until you actually see Woj or somebody like that talking about it. And I haven't seen Woj tweet anything official or say anything official about what I'm about to say in regards to this particular rumor, but I just am intrigued by Kyle Lowry and what he can do for a playoff team. He is a Toronto Raptor. He is projected to be a free agent, I think, soon, or is he? I don't forgive that. I think he might actually sign a contract. It's pretty lengthy, but it's a movable contract, I believe. So we're looking at somebody who could go into a team and officially make them a contender. You know, if they're not already, he's the type of guy who you put him on the right roster and suddenly you go from a play-in team to one of the top four teams in your conference. So that's what I think of Kyle Lowry. He's an NBA champion. He's already proven himself. He was a big part of that NBA championship with the Toronto Raptors. Second best player on that team, if you ask me. And he showed it. He looked like it. So at this point in his stage of his career, obviously there's a guy by the name of Fred VanVleet that the Toronto Raptors just paid. Toronto Raptors have had a really, really bizarre season because they've had to play their entire season in Tampa, Florida. So it's a situation where they did lose Marc Gasol, which ain't a loss really if you see how he's played for us. But he's not there anymore, and they haven't done a good job of really replacing him. Although Chris Boucher has been really good for them this season, I'm not quite sure if he's the center answer you need. But he's a heck of a player. So they got Aaron Baines down there that hasn't panned out, and they got players that are really breaking out like Norman Powell. Now they got to figure out what they're going to do with him. Maybe he's a part of whatever this trade is going to be. He's a valuable piece, though. I got to say, Norman Powell's value has skyrocketed from where it was when they were winning championships to where it is now. He's a 30-point scorer and somebody that you can also see turning a play-in team into a playoff team, depending on where he goes. So you imagine if you can be the team that gets both of these guys, maybe you strike a deal with the Toronto Raptors and you get them both, you've made yourself a lot better. So the team that I'm looking at in regards to Kyle Lowry is the Los Angeles Clippers. Now, I know they have their eyes on Lonzo Ball, too, and they have a glaring need for a point guard and have had a glaring need for a point guard since they put this team together. And that's the story with the Clippers. I mean, that's been the story with the Clippers for as long as they've been relevant. They just have always missed a very key piece. Back in the Blake Griffin days, it was a small forward. Now with the Kawhi Leonard days, it's a point guard. And it just seems to me that they may understand how important it is to have these pieces, but for whatever reason, they just don't address it like they should. You know what I mean? So it makes you wonder if they do. You need all positions solidified on your basketball team. If I could say anything so very obvious, it would be that. You need to solidify every position on your team. And you need a floor general, whether he's playing a point guard position or another position. Because Jokic and guys like Draymond have proven to us that we don't need a facilitator at the point guard position, but you do need somebody who's going to pass the ball around and make people better. And that's what Kyle Lowry can do for the Clippers. They need his scoring punch as well to take a little pressure off of their other guys. But I will acknowledge that Luke Kennard impressed me quite a bit running the point for the Clippers in the last game that I saw. The last highlights that I saw, his footwork was pretty damn impressive, man. His step backs and things of that nature, just his overall footwork. I learned something about Luke Kennard, and I think if they fail to get a point guard, they can mold him into that. But they're not going to do it this season. But the potential for him to be a nice point guard is official in my mind. He's a guy. So it's good to finally see him starting to get minutes. I don't think they'll involve him in any trade, but he is a piece that I could see people asking for when talking to the Clippers. So at this point, you have to wonder if he's going to be involved. But at the end of the day, they do need to bring back a point guard. And Kyle Lowry's a fantastic fit, in my opinion. Pure scorer, Hall of Fame caliber, all-star for sure, maybe Hall of Fame, definitely all-star, perennial all-star caliber player. Can do a little bit of everything. I've gone on record calling him a Chris Paul light. You know what I mean? And he has a ring. You know, he's put himself in a position to stay with a franchise. I thought it was risky. He had an opportunity to go back, come here, play with us, and he stayed in Toronto, signed a really nice deal. I think it was like 3 years ago, and he got himself a ring with that. So it's somebody from Philadelphia. So I know that the Philadelphia 76ers are also a team that's very interested in Kyle Lowry, and I am intrigued by what he or any score first point guard looks like in that system with Ben Simmons. And the reason why I say that is because I've already seen them have success with score first point guards. Shake Milton has had good games this season. He's hot right now. His minutes are ever fluctuating, so he never has any real consistency. But he's a guy. You look at a guy like Tyrese Maxey. He broke out in like one game and then hasn't been able to get on the floor ever since. It's just tragic how that kind of played out, because I really believe he could be a Rookie of the Year candidate if he played for someone else. But that's neither here nor there. That's another guy who can show you that a score first point guard can work in that system. So you're starting to see that even though they have Ben Simmons playing the point from every position basically, but you know, he runs the show. You can bring in a score first guy that's under 6'3", and they'll look really good on that team. So a guy like Kyle Lowry from Philadelphia, if he were to go to Philadelphia, I think the fit would be just fine. I think they would be that much better for having him, depending on what they have to give up. And I think if they can keep Tobias Harris in that situation if they can go without trading him, and if they can go without trading Dwight Howard, Philly can put themselves in a position with Kyle Lowry to be able to look Brooklyn in the eye. I still don't know that they ultimately would beat Brooklyn, because that's just a lot of freaking great firepower. But adding another all-star to that Philadelphia team, a guy like Kyle Lowry, he can definitely give them. You'll win a game more than you would have without him. Put it like that. You will win a whole game against the Nets. That's what I'm trying to say. If they lose the series in 6, they can push it to 7 if they have Kyle on that team. And I think that's very significant. Very significant. Do not downplay what that actually means. Especially in a season with COVID, in a season with injuries all over the place. You buying yourself one win against a team like that may be all you need, believe it or not. So I think if there's an opportunity for them to do that, they should probably jump on that immediately. Another place that Kyle Lowry would fit very well, it's a million places. Chicago, obviously, they're looking for a point guard, but he would probably want to go to a contender for sure. I don't see him wanting to go to a place like Chicago, but it wouldn't be up to him, obviously, in this situation. But I don't think Toronto will send one of their best players to a bad situation just to bring back, a couple players. I mean, unless they're getting back Zach LaVine or something like that, that's not happening. But what I'm trying to say is that there won't be a lack of suitors for a guy like Kyle Lowry. There's not too many places he doesn't fit. The only thing that would mess up the fit is the fact that there are certain players in this league that he probably wouldn't start in front of. And asking a player like that to take a bench role is probably not, that's not going to happen. So you definitely want to go somewhere where there's a starting point guard position available to you. That's definite when you're talking about Kyle Lowry. But yeah, man, he's scrappy. He's not the most athletic guy. We all know that. We know his game. He just shoots the ball very, very well. He's a fantastic facilitator. He's big, like for a point guard. He's got stocky size, so he's not somebody that's going to be pushed around a lot. And he's been in the game for a while. He knows how to take care of himself. He's done it all. He's been there. He's proven it in big moments, and he kind of reminds me of like a Chauncey Billups guy. He reminds me of Big Shot Chauncey in a way. He's just one of those guys where he's not quite a superstar, but he's still respected by literally all the superstars. Like everybody looks at him and say, "Yeah, that's a guy." So you got to respect him in that regard. And now that he's won a ring, he solidified that. So he's gonna cost a pretty penny. I don't see you being able to pry him away from Toronto for anything less than a first rounder and a player. that's probably what the starting rate is going to be for a guy of that caliber. So I know the Lakers have been linked to him. Since I'm a Laker fan, I'll always mention the Lakers in regards to stuff like that. We are not going to get Kyle Lowry in the next 2 days. I don't see that. We don't have the pieces. So that's the only reason why I brought up the Lakers, because I'm a fan. But in regards to Kyle Lowry, he just has a lot of places to go. New York would be interesting for Kyle Lowry, I think. I believe they have the pieces. They could use a facilitating point guard. They could use somebody who, they have Derrick Rose, and Derrick Rose is fantastic. But Derrick Rose, in and out of the lineup, he's not as reliable as a guy like Kyle Lowry at this stage in his career. And with Juju playing this well, we would love to get him a bona fide third player to play with him having a running mate in R.J. Barrett. You would love to give him one more guy, and I think that would solidify the New York Knicks' playoff hopes, not only for this year, but probably for next season as well. So if they can get their hands on Kyle Lowry, I would definitely make that happen. And I wouldn't rule them out as being buyers in this market. I think they have picks. I look around their roster and I say, yeah, I'd like to have a few of those guys. So I don't think they should be ruled out over the next 2 days. They shouldn't be ruled out. So yeah, that's one spot. I don't think I've touched on the best spots for him, to be completely honest with you. But every team I can think of right now has a point guard in his stead that he would have to either fight for minutes for or push out of the way altogether. And I don't think anybody's really signing up to do that right now. So we'll see. I think of teams all over the league, but no team more necessary, in my opinion, than the Los Angeles Clippers. They cannot let this trade deadline pass without getting one of those two players, in my opinion. They need a point guard. I don't know that there are other point guards of the caliber that they're looking for available. So it better be Kyle Lowry or it better be Lonzo Ball, and they had better make it happen. Even with all of that being said about Luke Kennard, he's not going to be ready to be a starting point guard for a championship caliber team right now. No, he's not. I said you can groom him to be that, but he's not there yet, and won't be there next year, in my opinion. So we'll see, man. The Clippers, they have to do something. I know they're in love with Patrick Beverley for whatever reason. I am not. I've never been a Patrick Beverley guy. I know how potent he can be defensively, but as Matt Barnes said on his podcast, if you're going to be a point guard, you had better be able to do one or two things. You had better either be able to score or you had better be able to pass. And he ain't good at either one of those two things. So it's nice to have a lockdown point guard on your team, especially on a league full of point guards. But if he can't be a threat offensively and he can't stay healthy, you're really wasting your time with him starting on your team. So I believe it would be absolutely and utterly essential for them to land a point guard right here and now. In fact, that deal should be done before the trade deadline. If you can get a deal done, you shouldn't be hesitating at all. Even if it means giving up Lou Williams, Terrence Mann, even they like him a lot, even Luke Kennard. If it'll get you Kyle Lowry, you should probably drop all them dudes. So that's my opinion. If you're the Clippers, you guys need to make sure that you don't ruin Kawhi Leonard and Paul George's tenure with you guys. Paul George signing on for what? Did he have a 3-year deal that he had signed or something like that, or was it 2-year? I know Kawhi's 1-1, and he's already squawking about how he's not happy about how the team looks. So you could very well lose Kawhi Leonard as soon as this summer. I wouldn't be surprised if he asked for a trade at the end of the year if they fizzle out in the playoffs like I expect them to. So you had better get you a point guard, Clippers. Yeah, that needs to happen. And Kyle Lowry's probably the guy. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I got to say, man. There are other things I want to touch in on, and I'm going to make a video about something entirely different right now. So thank you guys for watching this one. I'm out.